Hello, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are watching this. This is the Puzzle Podcast, the Puzzle Podcast with Bruno and Isaac, two business-minded engineers discussing different pieces of the puzzle of innovation. And today's question is one that is very dear to my heart. And I told Bruno we don't even have to discuss this because the answer is obvious. It's one of those, huh? The question is, should we try to emulate successful companies? And I said, of course, whatever Apple is doing, we need to do. Whatever Microsoft is doing, we need to do. If Spotify does quads, apparently, allegedly, well, of course we need to do it. Everything that Toyota does must be copied one to one. Right, Bruno? You're with me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a surefire way to success.
Yes.
I think we used our dose of sarcasm and cynicism for the month.
Yes. We use all my credits now.
No, on a more serious note, I'm firmly in the camp that inspiration is fine, emulation not so fine. So of course, yes, you should be inspired by people that are doing something right, companies that are doing something right, but you should definitely not try to emulate them because, among other things, every organization is embedded in its context, cultural context, historical context, geopolitical context. It's so many different things that, even if you send dozens of research teams, you will not be able to extract, this is five things that you will do because successful company did it, and then you will also enjoy the same success. That approaches sells business books because I don't know, there's like 50, I think it's 50,000 business books released every year. So that kind of approach, yes, sells books, but in terms of helping you, the business, achieve something, not so much. You mentioned Toyota. Toyota is very close to my heart. I'm an industrial engineer. I love Toyota production system. I love lean manufacturing, all of that. But I'm not like a acolyte, a priest. You have to do it one to one because I understand the things Toyota did like in the 70s isn't what Toyota doing today or what they did in the 90s or thousands, etc. And it was so contextual. What Taiichi Ono was doing back then would not fly today for a multitude of reasons, not even in Japan in Toyota, let alone, I don't know, in Norway or Croatia, and I would imagine Greece. So kind of emulation almost, uh, it implies brainless repetition, hoping that you will get the same results, almost like cargo cult.
It's in fact, I would say it is cargo cult. And we see a lot of cargo culting. And the, uh, the idea that here 5+1 secrets to success, or these are the 11 things that Toyota is doing, or this is what Tesla is doing. Everybody do like Tesla. All those ideas of emulatability, let's call it this way, they're being promoted by consulting companies, obviously, by influencers, LinkedIn people. Wouldn't even call them influencers because they're just people on LinkedIn putting up nice carousels, by business schools, which is something which even though I have an MBA from a business school, obviously I'm still quite open to talk about how it is part of that whole construct, and by journalists, because every time you want to find a story that praises, I don't know, Musk or whatever company is now in vogue, oh, you will tell them about this is the secret to success, this is the recipe to success. And even if you don't focus on companies, you will see the same effect. So the same stories about entrepreneurs. These are the 10 things that Jeff Bezos does in his morning routine. Nonsense like this. So there is a certain degree of people wanting to emulate. I think it's really the quest for the miracle cure. If only, I don't know what to do actually in my business, but if only I can find something that sounds good, feels compatible with my idea, inspires me, so it makes me feel better, and I can then copy paste and see if it works. I don't have to go through the trouble of figuring out what my company needs. I would just do what everybody else is doing. But isn't that by definition, the path to undifferentiating yourself in terms of how you operate, meaning you basically discard everything that makes your company at this time, as you said, in this historical context, and then saying, well, look, I don't know, just what does Toyota do? Hey, call a Japanese guy we know and he'll tell us, and then bring in the senseis to show us how they used to do it back in Japan. There's a whole bunch of that thinking, which is deeply disturbing if you think about it. And only if you look at what you need, what your problems are, what your opportunities are. It's not only about problems. I think we tend to be very negative in the world of continuous improvement. We focus on waste and problems, and this is not working as we would. Yeah, okay, but you have some opportunities to grasp, and your opportunities are probably very different to the ones that Toyota, Spotify, whoever wanted to grasp. Therefore, you require different ways to reach a different end result.
And there's something also in capabilities. So, I mean, companies are dead abstract concepts. People are in companies. People are in organizations. People have skills. People do the work. And I've been practicing martial arts ever since I was a little kid. I'm instructor now as well. And one analog I see here, or a parallel I see here, is if you come to my dojo and you're a beginner, the first things you need to learn are how to fall, how to roll, the manners, etc. But I could as well be showing you like top level grandmaster techniques. I could immediately be showing them to you. But because you don't have 10, 20, 30 years of practice, it's like throwing pearls to the pigs. You will see them, you will understand that you're seeing something, but in terms of you repeating that, even with me standing there and guiding you, Isaac, move your hand like this, now step like this, you would still not be able to do it. Not because, I don't know, you're not smart enough or something, but because you don't have the practice, the personal experience needed to perform that. And in organizations, it's something similar, right? You look to this organization, like you mentioned, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk is all the rage, and you look to their organizations, but how you see them today, that's built on decades of doing certain things. So now when they come and they present it in this package that looks so accessible and so simple, oh, the Amazon flywheel, of course, that makes so much sense. Yeah, but simplicity is a work of decades that was now boiled into something that's presentable, that's communicable.
Yeah.
But the practices, the capabilities behind it, oh wow. And now companies sometimes try to short-charge it by either acquiring, basically stealing talent from other companies. They think we're gonna bring one Amazonian or one ex-Tesla and one ex-Googler, and our bank is suddenly gonna become digital because this one Googler is gonna change a 30,000 person organization that's been doing things for 200 years. Yeah, right. It doesn't work that way. I'm starting to rant, so I'm gonna pivot a little bit here, and that is people get stuck on emulating successes. But what I found repeatedly, and it's not just me, it's in practice as well, it's much more useful to study the bigger sample of the companies that had failed.
Yes.
And what do they have in common, and then actively avoid doing those things. That will put you in much better spot, and because it's such a big sample size, you actually do have something to okay, we can trust this, because I mean it's big numbers. It's not that one unicorn or that one special leader or something, that hello effect.
And not many look at that, right? It's almost like an untapped resource of deep wisdom that is far more widely sampled than the few successes that people try to emulate. And this also, so you took a point that I want to make, which is great because I can build on it. It ties it back to what we discussed in one of the earliest episodes about this kind of set-based thinking. Is that how do you go to your end result? You don't know. It's like you're trying to find, you're blind. I let you walk all around Switzerland. I tell you find the highest peak. Just figure it out. And the easiest way to at least go in the direction of some kind of peak, might not be the highest, but okay, then we get into deeper optimization topics, is to just don't go to a lower place. Just don't go to where there's certainly no peaks to be found. So if business schools and if articles were more hell-bent on writing about stories to avoid, stories that can teach us like the parables, in the past, humanity has a lot of parables, has a lot of intergenerational knowledge that's passed down in oral tradition. Where are those in the business world today? Yeah, sure, we know about Boeing, and everybody who was alive at the time and cares about it knows about Enron in those cases, or about what was the Pontiac Fiero, the car that when you crashed into it from behind, it would burst into flame. Those are all very, very interesting stories. Not because a car burst into flames, but because the what came to the surface is the end result of a whole bunch of failures of management, of wrong things that those companies did. And to a few people's credit, there are books that have been written on this that analyze, and there are certainly fantastic investigative journalists who dive deep into, hey, okay, this thing with Boeing happened, but why exactly did this happen? Or this great article that was posted a few weeks or months ago about how at Google the maze is in the mouse, that it blew up in terms of complexity so much that it almost doesn't know what it's doing. So those are very, very potentially groundbreaking insights that you can get. Of course, again, the same thing applies. Just because they failed in that way, in that industry, at that time, with those people, with those capabilities, doesn't mean that if you do similar things, you will also fail. But usually the stories of failure are much less debatable in terms of whether what they did was anyway a good idea to begin with. Because when an organization makes mistakes, it doesn't make one mistake. It makes a whole cascade of things. And when you read through the story, you say, yeah, they lowered their focus on quality. Yeah, they set the wrong incentives. No wonder it happened this way. But when you read a success story, it's not easy to say, oh yes, they did squads, and they incentivized the teams in a way that made them more autonomous. Because there are like thousands of organizations where people don't work in squads, like Spotify supposedly had, and they're still successful. So, yeah, I agree. Look at the failure stories; they can be fantastic for learning.
And I just want to briefly mention something, and I'm looking at the time. The stories of failure that you want to be learning from the most are the boring ones.
Mm-hmm.
Not the dramatic ones, because of course you will not find the resonance necessarily in the dramatic ones, because they're outliers, just like the great successes are outliers.
Yeah.
It's not so common that there's so much gross incompetence and corruption that you bring the whole world economy down. That that doesn't, I hope that does not resonate with an average business person. But like spreading out and looking at those boring reasons. For example, and just very briefly, like for a period of time, and I still think it's true, number one reason why in Norway small and medium-sized businesses closed down was failure to pay VAT.
Yeah.
Now that's a symptom. That's not the root cause, but it's very boring. So if you wanted to start a consulting business, or as a country, as a state, you want to help your SMEs, that would be your first thing. Like, hey, we do not need to study the most successful SMEs in Norway. We need to study, okay, why did 80% of businesses close due to failing to paying VAT? What led to that? Was it procedural? Was it a lack of understanding of the VAT system? I don't know, but that's kind of the direction I would take, and then try. Or if I was an SME, understand, okay, it's really important to pay VAT on time, to ensure that all of that is paid. Why? Because there are a lot of penalties that stack up quite high, blah, 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 blah. Like these boring things are the things that usually have the most positive business impact.
Yeah. And I'll close with one thing here, which for sure we're not going to discuss now. But since you talk about the martial arts, when you go and show to a young martial artist or aspiring martial artist all those cool moves, the danger is that that person might feel inspired, but not really, might get a short burst of interest, but might become demotivated, because then he becomes aware that, oh, to reach Bruno's level, oh my God, how many years has Bruno been doing this? Oh, since he was a kid. Oh my God, it's gonna take years. And then you actually go the opposite way. You don't inspire, you cause a dejectedness. And that's a risk that people, I think, need to take into account. It's the same way that when I listen to John Petrucci of Dream Theater, I get inspired, and then I realize I'm never gonna learn to play the guitar like this. I mean, damn, and that doesn't make me look forward to playing something crappily on the electric guitar. So very big dangers, whether in martial arts or in making music. And that's where we leave it. Very, very big topic and very nice topic too. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.